part B, our problem is 3 divided by 2. We need to figure out how to solve it with unit forms, write it as an improper fraction. I already gave the mixed number part of it, and then we're going to show it standard algorithm to check our work. So our problem is 3 divided by 2. So over my whiteboard, I wrote 3 divided by 2. Our whole is 3. So we're going to draw 3 boxes. Then we're going to split it, each one of those, into 2 equal parts. So splitting them right in half. Now, if we look over at our unit form, it's saying how many halves are there? Well, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 halves. We can either count them or see that there's 2 in each of them. 2 times 3 equals 6. So over in your workbook, you're going to write 6 halves, and we're dividing it. We're going back to our problem, and we're dividing by 2. So divided by 2. We know 6 divided by 2 equals 3, because 3 times 2 is 6. Bring down our halves, and we get 3 halves. I'm just going to go over to the workbook page and fill that in. So now it's asking us to write it as an improper fraction. We have to write it, we have it as word form, so let's go ahead and write it as a fraction. 3 halves means over 2. Right there is our improper fraction. So over in your workbook, go ahead and write 3 over 2. Awesome. And we know that the mixed number of that is 1 and 1/2, because 2 can go into 3 one time, and then you would have 1 remainder over. Awesome. Okay. So standard algorithm, write your answer in whole numbers and fractional units, then check. So what it wants us to do is write it as a division problem like this. So our problem is 2 into 3. 3 divided by 2. We know 2 can go into 3 just one time. And then we're going to put an X that helps us remember that we have to multiply. So 1 times 2 equals 2. Next up, we have to subtract the 2 numbers. 3 minus 2 equals 1. So since we're focusing on fractions in this unit, we don't need to do a decimal 0 and bring it down. We're just going to do it as a fractional answer. 1 is the leftover, the remainder, and you're going to put it over the denominator, which is 2. So now we have 1 1/2, which is what we got there as well. It's asking us to check. So if you notice up in this one, it said 4 times 1 and 1/4. So for this time, we're going to do 2 times 1 1/2. 2 times 1 and 1/2. All that is saying is 2 1 1/2s added together. 1 and 1/2 plus 1 and 1/2. Let's add the whole numbers first. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Now let's add the fractions. They have the same denominator, so we can just add the numerators. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Our denominator is 2. So we get 2 and 2 over 2. Let's look at 2 over 2. That is the same as 1 whole. So think of this equals 1. Now we have 2 plus that 1 whole equals 3. So we got 3 as our answer, so we know we are correct. All right, so go ahead and try C and D on your own, following the same steps that we just did for A and B.